Lamar Jackson was selected for the Pro Bowl. Is his play worthy, though, of the selection this year? Tom Brady coming off maybe his worst loss ever. Does that mean he'll top Broussard's under duress list? And the Bills and Patriots getting ready for part 2 Sunday in Foxborough. Happy Thursday morning, everyone. Thanks for getting your morning set with us. Alongside Nick Wright, Chris Broussard, very studious-looking Kevin Wildes. I am Jenna Wolfe. Hey, Kevin Wildes, how do you feel this morning? A little nervous about this? A little anxious? Where are we?
I'm feeling like I can see a victory. I'm a little bit nervous, but I can see a victory with these wonderful glasses, Jenna.
Okay, you know what? I might start wearing glasses one of these days. Hey, Lakers, though, our top story this morning. Big changes could be coming down the pike for this team. At 16-16, it is not hard to imagine why. Report from Shams yesterday that the Lakers have been active in the trade market. Rob Pelinka trying to figure out how to retool this veteran roster, possibly get a little younger in the process, all in the hopes of staying alive out west with Anthony Davis on the shelf now for about a month. So, Nick, I'll start with you. Is there a trade the Lakers can make to salvage their season?
Well, I don't know if this season's quite to the point where it needs to be salvaged, but there's no trade. And Broussard, sometimes I feel like I'm the only man with internet access. Like, I'm the only person who has the ability to type in Lakers spot rack into Google, go there, look at it, and be like, oh, yeah, no trades available. That Lakers have one salary on their roster that's more than $5 million and less than $35 million. Talen Horton-Tucker. That's it. So that's the only, easily tradable piece in the NBA where salaries have to match. So, no. There is no major trade coming. And this idea that even more, you don't even need internet access for this one. You just need to have been a sentient being over the last half decade. This idea that the Lakers are going to get Ben Simmons. When Daryl wouldn't trade Ben Simmons for CJ McCollum, he's not trading Ben Simmons for Kendrick Nunn, Talen Horton-Tucker, Trevor Ariza, and whatever, and you couldn't even match the salaries. Oh, but what about Russ? Could you trade him for Russ? No! Daryl, I can't prove this, but I would bet a lot of money, Broussard, that Daryl maybe initially didn't want to trade for Russ the first time he did it. But James Harden was like, I want Russ. I don't want Chris Paul. Make this happen, my guy. And so he made it happen. So could the Lakers do something in the margins? Sure, maybe. But they don't have tradable salaries. They are old and expensive, or incredibly young, or still very old, and very, very cheap. So you can't trade minimum guys. There's except for other minimum guys. There's no trades to make. So no, there's no major trade coming down the pike. And Ben Simmons, he's only going to LA, for date night. Not for basketball games.
Well, that might be part of the problem, but no. Look, sorry, Lakers fans, but Nick is absolutely right. There is no major trade coming your way to change this roster. And quickly, you brought up Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia 76ers, Nick. If Daryl Morey is wise to just keep waiting it out to see what Portland decides to do. Because they're looking bad. They're struggling mightily, way under 500. At some point, they may say, you know what? We're not leaving the decision up to Dame. We need to start all over and rebuild. So that is what Philadelphia could be waiting for. And it's wise to wait for them maybe to decide to trade Damian Lillard. But as far as the Lakers, look, you said it, Nick, they have no tradable assets. All right. They basically traded all their upcoming draft picks, gave them to the Pelicans in the Anthony Davis move.
Right.
And Talen Horton-Tucker, who, has some value in the league, is shooting 38% from the floor, 24% from three. All right, he's a good little player, but I think the Lakers have overvalued just how good he is. So I don't think he's bringing you back a ton of stuff. So Russell Westbrook, how many times can you trade him for John Wall? Well, our problem for your problem.
That's the trade.
They did it with Houston and Washington. Do you go back and do that again? Right. I mean, that's about it. So this is their roster. I mean, Nick said he's right. Maybe some minor tweaks around the margins. But whilst this is what the Lakers have to go to battle with. And look, I do think LeBron is seriously concerned. But I also think there was a little bit of truth to what he said as far as him believing it. What he said yesterday when he's like, look, we really haven't been together. We haven't had enough time together, so we got time to work this thing out once we get home.
I know. The weird thing about that is, Broussard, he might also be saying that after the first round exit, like, you don't know, we got to get whole next year. If we're whole, we can make it. Like, okay, well, the season's over for you guys. I am holding out emotional hope, however, for the Kevin Love buyout. Only problem is the Cavs are actually pretty good. So that kind of throws a wrench into the UCLA, LeBron, Russ reunion with Kevin Love and everybody. Okay, now it is time for the part of the show where we watch a rumor grow into a story. And it started with my friend Bill Simmons, who I think last week tweeted this. We are like 5 days away from the first unsubstantiated LeBron loves what he's seeing from the young Cavaliers and might want to finish his career there story. And I honestly can't wait. And then it starts to pick up a little bit of momentum. Some aggregators got to it. Is this worth discussing? Then Kendrick Perkins tweeted something out. Cavs look good, carry on. And then Shams went on to McAfee. McAfee said, I'm hearing about some rumors about LeBron going back to Cleveland. And Shams said, I heard it from Rich Paul himself. That is not a story. But, Nicholas, that is like the third ring in the Infinity Stone. I just put it on of an unsubstantiated story right there on my, I get the power. It's a story from nothing. Now we have a story created from Bill Simmons. Is it out of the realm of possibility? This is a legit story, my friend. Is it out of the realm of possibility that maybe not this year, but maybe next year? Maybe this is a crack in the foundation that Bill Simmons just pointed out. Say, ooh, there's a crack in that foundation. You might want to get that looked at. Lakers said, we can't do anything about it. And then LeBron starts thinking about, where else should I go? Back to the Heat. The Heat are pretty good Heat culture. Nice there, like Tom Brady, go to Florida. Do you see this having any news value? Greater than zero. That's all I'm looking for. Greater than zero. Zero? Greater than zero.
No, it's zero. Hey, Wilds, I know you don't like it when I ask you questions on the air.
Less than zero.
But I'm going to ask you a question on the air, and I want you to answer it. Wilds, have you ever murdered anybody?
Oh, God, no. Am I not supposed to answer that?
Oh.
You're supposed to be like, how dare you?
Well,
no,
here's
obviously
the thing.
not.
The fact that you're even having to answer the question raises the question if you ever murdered anybody. That's what happened here. This is a snake eating its tail. This is Bill Simmons, very powerful media mogul, your buddy Bill Simmons, putting out into the ether for 3 million Twitter followers. Oh, can't wait for this rumor to start. Starting the rumor himself. And what, Wilds? What? Tell me how I'm wrong.
Well,
That's exactly what this is.
Just for the record, be like, Kevin, do you want to buy a Ferrari or something like that? Yeah, it's just that, you kind of took me down a bad path there. It just put me in a bad spot.
Well, that's fine. Okay, that's fine.
It did get dark for me.
You really went to the very end. Went to the very end.
And notorious and admitted sports hate, Lakers hater. He's a diehard Celtics fan and talks all the time. And I like Bill a lot. So I'm not taking shots here about how much his whole life hated the Lakers. He also seems to have, let's call it a tortured relationship with LeBron and LeBron's place in history. And so now trying to put this out there to sow more unrest in Los Angeles. Broussard, this is what I will say. I think LeBron is finishing his career as a Laker with one caveat. One. And that is, when his contract's up the year after next, if he wanted to go to the team that he then wants to buy as part of a deal with whomever the current owner is, which is, I don't even know if this would be allowed, but I could see it happening. Like, hey, when I retire, this is the team I'm targeting. I can help you out for the last couple years if we can, start that process now. That I could see happening because LeBron's not going to be able to buy the Lakers. Lakers are the most valuable franchise in the NBA. That's off the table. But he is not going to force a trade or force his way out. He has now put down roots in L.A. His family's in L.A. His businesses are in L.A. He's not going to Cleveland because Evan Mobley looks like a young KG. That's flatly not happening.
Right. There's no doubt about it. And remember, he didn't go to L.A. strictly for basketball reasons. All right. Yeah. He went there. He wanted to win the championship. He did that. Okay. The pressure's off to win a title. I'm obviously he wants to continue winning championships, but everything after this is gravy. He got his one ring in L.A. All right. He justified his move there. He's got as many L.A. rings as Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain. So he's good. And he went there for business reasons, for family reasons, for lifestyle reasons. He's not leaving. Remember, when he went there, that wasn't a good basketball move. They had a bunch of young pups.
No.
Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram,
Right.
Kyle Kuzma. They weren't built to win right away. So he didn't go there thinking, I'm going to win a championship right away. So, no, Nick's right. He's not leaving the Lakers. It's ridiculous. Sorry, Wild.
Team would actually be pretty good, though. Lonzo, Caruso.
All right.
Randall.
Cleveland
Just to
got
recap,
something going.
LeBron's not leaving, and Wiles never murdered anybody. So we got that taken care of. Switch gears to the NFL.
Well,
Lamar
but
Jackson heading
the fact that
back
we're even
to
having the
Pro
discussion,
Bowl.
Jenna,
Nope. It's
raises the
interesting,
question.
Nick. You're
Right.
right.
Might become a
You make a
story.
good point. You might be
Yeah.
surprised to
Report.
hear who isn't going to the Pro Bowl. Pro Bowl roster is released
stink.
yesterday. Here's what
Hey,
you
you
need to
never
know.
know,
Tom Brady
Nick,
was
who's
selected
on that
for a
list.
record 15th time. Aaron Rodgers and Kyler Murray joining Brady from the NFC. Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and Lamar Jackson, the quarterbacks on the AFC side. So, Broussard, if you had to change any of the selections, the change you would make to the Pro Bowl roster is blank.
Jenna, I thought there were two big mistakes at quarterback. The first one, and this isn't my answer, but I thought Matt Stafford deserved it over Kyler Murray in the NFC. And here is my answer, because this is the most egregious one to me. There's no way to justify Lamar Jackson making the team over Josh Allen. And I know how great Lamar Jackson has been and his stature in the league, but look at the stat comparison. I mean, he's got Lamar beat in everything. Those passing yards, well, that's total yards at the top, 306 to 304. And remember, obviously, Lamar's got more rushing yards, but Josh has almost twice as many touchdowns. Can you throw it up there again? He's got 35 touchdowns to Lamar's 18. That's almost twice as many. And then he's got fewer turnovers. And Nick, he's got more rush TDs than Lamar Jackson. Twice as many. He's got 4 to Lamar's 2. Lamar hasn't had a rush TD since week 2. And he's only got 2 scoring touchdowns on the ground. This is Lamar's worst season since he became really the full-time starter, at the beginning of a season. And so there's no way to justify this. You can't even look at their records and say, well, Josh, his team is more disappointing. Yeah. Both of them had Super Bowl aspirations and were sexy picks to get to the Super Bowl. And both of them currently are 8-6. So I'm sorry. There's no way he deserved it over Josh Allen.
Well, but it's why neither one of them should be there. And this isn't my answer, but that should be Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow leads the AFC in passer rating, leads the AFC in yards per attempt, has the same record as both of those teams. Joe Burrow has been better than Josh Allen this year. They've both been better than Lamar. I agree with you on Lamar, but as is often the case with the Pro Bowl, they let fans and media and players vote when they should just ask me, because this is just fraught with errors. Where's Creed Humphrey? Wilds? Where's Cordarrelle Patterson? How does Cordarrelle Patterson not make the Pro Bowl this year? If not now, then when, America? He has been an offense unto himself for Atlanta. There are a lot of, I would argue, Derrick Henry has done enough this year in half a season to make it over Nick Chubb. But none of those are my biggest issues. The starting quarterbacks in the NFC, they got it right. They took the whole season into account, and they said Rodgers over Brady. which is a very bad omen for Broussard's, going to go 0 for 2 on MVPs. Dark horse and regular. Nope. Rodgers over Brady is correct.
Horses.
It is.
How in the AFC is Justin Herbert starting over Patrick Mahomes? How? I'm just how? Well, one guy's the 1 seed, one guy's currently fighting for his playoff life, one guy just got beat by the other guy, one guy's playing his best football of the season, despite having the worst turnover luck due to Wilds out here trying to change interceptions to non-interceptions because they hit a player in the hands. Where was that energy all September and October when that's what was bedeviling Mahomes? You were trying to do something for Jalen Hurts. It hit hands, then foot. Hands, then foot for Jalen Hurts. You're like, oh no, in the Wild's official stat book. Yet, with Mahomes, that's a half dozen of those. So I don't understand how Mahomes isn't the starter, but I guess I do understand Broussard because this list is always, sometimes it feels like we're throwing darts. Like Creed Humphrey's been the best center in football this year. He doesn't make the Pro Bowl. He might be first team All-Pro. It's very disappointing. Very disappointing fans, media, and players.
Look, Nick, I'm going to give you an explanation. I know why Justin Herbert made it over Patrick Mahomes. And look, I would have gone with Patrick Mahomes. I like Patrick Mahomes almost as much as you, but I'm more unbiased than you. All right. But I would have gone with Mahomes. But I have to admit, Nick, a lot of it would have been my bias. Can we see the numbers? I mean, Justin Herbert's numbers are better than Patrick Mahomes across
it's very,
the board,
very close.
Nick.
What about that last
Everything.
number?
They're close. Okay. They are very close. The AFC. And here's the explanation for that.
Is what we're doing?
Well, it is what it is. Touchdowns, he got 2 more, fewer interceptions, and then the better passer rating. But here's the thing, too, Nick. The voting ended a week ago. So that great comeback that Mahomes engineered last week didn't come into play. So remember, that's a problem because I think it affected the Kyler Murray getting in too. So that's one explanation. Secondly, Nick, there is a bias against Mahomes and the Chiefs because I think coaches and players feel like they're too arrogant and cocky. Because that Justin Herbert didn't get the fan vote. Think about it. It's coaches a third, fans a third, players a third. There's no way a Charger got the fan vote because they have no fan base. So coaches and players had to be heavily weighted toward Herbert over Mahomes. So that's another explanation. And then finally, Nick, I think Mahomes' stature is so high that his standards are so high too.
He's being graded against himself.
It makes his failures. Yes, it makes it look like he's failing much more than he is, just because he hasn't lived up to these sky-high expectations.
That part's correct. But for the record, the idea that the Chiefs are arrogant, they're just a humble bunch of Midwesterners. Just some footballers from the Midwest trying to keep their head down.
Their fans are arrogant. The fans on TV are
best fans in America. Give me a break. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Walt.
That was interesting. Broussard put that out there. Perhaps you personally cost Mahomes' vote. That was baked in there. A little baked-in take from Broussard. Okay. The Pro Bowl is not only an honor, it's also a party. And because of that, Gronk should automatically be invited. Now, Kyle Pitts, a lot of people are like, switch Kyle Pitts. I won't keep Kyle Pitts. Keep Kyle Pitts. Early on, we were like, hey, what's the deal with Kyle Pitts? We heard he's going to be maybe the best tight end ever. And he wasn't doing anything. And then he sort of came alive. All of a sudden, he made the Pro Bowl. He does only have 1 touchdown, but that's more because Atlanta's offense a little stalled. So I'm not taking Kyle Pitts off, but I'm adding Gronk as Brady's +1. Gronk has played 9 games, really only 8 because he only took a handful of snaps against the Saints. So he's had 8 games. In those 8 games, he's averaging about 66 yards and 6 touchdowns. Not averaging 6 touchdowns, or 48 touchdowns a year. Just he has a total of 6 touchdowns. And they come in bunches, just like the Super Bowl, 2 tutties. He's had 3 games with multiple receiving touchdowns. So I think overall, eye test-wise, or kind of draft-wise, like, hey, who would you like? Who do you need to catch a big ball in a big game? I think you're taking Gronk, especially if he's tied to Brady. That's why Brady gets a +1. It's sort of like, he's the VIP. He's with me. Like, okay, come on.
And he always gets the fan vote. Always, always, always. All right, we mentioned it. Kyler Murray headed to the Pro Bowl for the second straight year, but will he be on Broussard's under duress list after losing to the Lions? First things first. Time for Broussard's under duress list, something we all love, Broussard. Week 16 action kicking off tonight. Niners-Titans. So Tennessee can clinch the AFC South this week with a win and a Colts loss. For San Francisco, they come in winners of 5 of their last 6. They're fighting for their playoff lives out there in the NFC. Just the start of a crucial Week 16 in the NFL. I couldn't love this more. So Chris Broussard, tell us which 5 players are under the most duress this week.
All right, Jenna, number 5 is going to surprise you, but people have caught on. The Bud list is not about insult. It is about inspiration. It's about motivation. And you mentioned Kyle Pitts earlier, Wilds. When did he take off? Right after he was on the Bud list. All right, and this guy, a lot of people want this guy to win the MVP. I'm not saying any names, but a lot of people want him to win the MVP. So at number 5, we're going to motivate Tom Brady. Yes. And look, he's the GOAT. I know there's no pressure on him. He's not feeling pressure. However, he did get shut out for the first time in 15 years against the New Orleans Saints. So there's that. And his team, look, with all the injuries, with the bad loss, they need their leader to galvanize them, to show them, hey, guys, we still got this. Follow me. So he needs to come out, have a big game against Carolina. Oh, and get that 4th MVP that will put him second all-time to Peyton Manning. If he doesn't get it and Aaron Rodgers gets it, then Rodgers is second all-time to Peyton Manning. So at number 4, all right, I got 2 guys, Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield. And they're both together because we're not quite sure if they're going to play. Lamar was on it last week and didn't play. He still didn't practice yesterday. Baker, we think, is going to get off the COVID list. So if they both are back, they obviously are under duress because they both need wins. They're fighting for their playoff lives. Right. Both teams were viewed as Super Bowl contenders. Both of these players are having very down years. I don't care what the Pro Bowl voters say for Lamar. So they both need to come out and have big games this week if they play. All right, at number 3, Ryan Tannehill. Now, Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, that's right.
He had a great year last year, a very good year the year before, made the Pro Bowl, and this year, 14 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. All right, that's his most in like 8 years. So Tannehill, they've lost 3 of their last 4. We know they got injuries. Derrick Henry's out. A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, they're hoping at least one of them can play this weekend. But they need Tannehill to step up. This team, we think they'll make the playoffs, but it's not guaranteed. They're really in good shape, but they need a victory because they are stumbling badly. And Brian Tannehill needs to prove that he's worth all the money they just gave him. Remember that. All right, at number 2, Kyler Murray. Like Lamar Jackson, named to the Pro Bowl yesterday, I don't think he should have been. All right, and Kyler Murray has not been very good since he come back. We've talked about Cliff Kingsbury, the coach, struggling at the end of seasons. Well, Kyler Murray's been right there with him since he returned from injury 3 weeks ago. They've lost 2 of the games, and he's got 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in those games. And Nick, they are coming off arguably the worst loss that any supposed contender has all season. I say arguably because Buffalo did lose to Jacksonville. But this team, the Arizona Cardinals, led by Kyler Murray, got pummeled. They didn't get edged. They got pummeled by the Detroit Lions, 30-12. Right. Kyler rushed for all of 3 yards. So he's under duress. All right, and at number 1, I know you'll like this, Nick.
Yep.
Josh Allen, your man, all right? And he is on the roller coaster. And I got him on here because he is facing New England, which beat them a couple of weeks ago. And he only completed 50% of his passes. I know it was windy out there, but still, Josh Allen, his Buffalo Bills are on the verge of missing the playoffs, okay? That can't happen when you're supposed to reach the Super Bowl. They're 1-5 against teams with winning records. Josh, lead your team. Show the world that you can beat good teams outside of Kansas City when they were struggling. So Josh Allen needs to step up and send a message to Bill Belichick and the Patriots that we here and this division is ours. That's the Bud List.
That's fine.
Week 16.
Broussard,
Give me love.
What have you done?
Give me love.
No, there's no love. I'm honestly, this is not a bit, this is not a put on. I am disappointed in you. Because you are the person of integrity on this show. You are the elder statesman on this show. You are the most respected member of this show. And to see you throw it all away to try to hold on to some erroneous Mac Jones opinion is disappointing to say the least. Last week, Mac Jones was number 2 on the Bud List. How did he respond? With an abjectly terrible performance. Last week, you said he had to perform against the Colts. His first 3 drives, they gained 28 yards and punted every time. His next 2 drives, he threw interceptions. His next drive ends on a missed pass on 4th and 1. They have 0 points through 3 quarters, and he's off the list. The Patriots are now facing Josh Allen and the Bills with the division hanging by a thread, and he's off the list. And I will add something to it, because the media is a very powerful thing. The media can frame how we look at athletes. And Mac Jones has been framed just so beautifully and perfectly. But there is another narrative with Mac Jones. Mac Jones, a player who coming out of Alabama had some, character red flags due to the, collegiate arrest, who then weeks into his rookie season is working on personal branding before he has accomplished anything. And then at the first sign of adversity, what does he do? He takes to the podium and calls out his coaches and teammates. We didn't practice well. We were all feeling ourselves. You got a mouse in your pocket, Mac? Because I think it was you who didn't play well. It was you who threw those picks. So that could exist for, a different type of player. But for Mac Jones, not only does he not deal with that, he falls off the Bud List at 2, Broussard?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, it is. Broussard, let me retort. First of all, the trademark thing that is in your crawl is simply an email to say, hey, trademark this stuff. It has no bearing on anything. If anything, it shows Mac Jones' field awareness that no one comes in and tries to grab a trademark that belongs to the baby goat. It has no bearing on it. The second question I had for America is this. Do you think 68 points would be a lot to score in a game? I would. It would equal out to about 17 points a quarter. Well, that's what Mac Jones did in the fourth quarter. Put up 17 points. It was engineering a comeback. So look, the Bud List is a living, breathing document, just like the Constitution. And when Broussard can see in the fourth quarter that Mac Jones was skyrocketing, he doesn't belong in the Bud List. I will tell you someone who does belong on the Bud List, though. TJ Watt. We did a segment earlier. I'm like, does TJ Watt deserve MVP consideration? I think he does. But here's the menu that he has in front of him when he plays the Chiefs. There's 3 menu items. 2 are delicious. 1 is poison. The first delicious thing is sacks. If you can get to Patrick Mahomes and sack him, that would be great. The second delicious item on the menu is force Mahomes into a turnover-worthy play. He's tied for 3rd in turnover-worthy throws when he's pressured. But the third option is poison. And we saw it with Joey Bosa last week. Joey Bosa got to Mahomes like, great job, Joey Bosa. Looks like this is going to work out. No. Mahomes scampered past you and was a game-changing run that hit me right here in the heart. So he's in a tough spot here, Broussard, because if he plays well, great. But he can also play well, and Mahomes can end up torching the Steelers. And there's 0 chance. There's a lot of guys in the league that can play a so-so game and their team can win. I think there is 0 chance TJ Watt can play a so-so game and the Steelers win. So I'm adding TJ Watt to the Bud List.
Okay, Wilds, you took me all the way around the mulberry bush with TJ Watt. I'm a little confused. My head's spinning on that explanation. However, you did a fantastic job of defending Mac Jones against this slander. All right, because here's the thing, Nick. You're right. He was on the bud list last week, and now he was off after not a great game. But I was impressed, as Wilds said, by the comeback. All right, and you just praised Patrick Mahomes for his comeback a couple weeks ago against the Chargers.
Because it was a comeback.
Mac Jones, as a rookie, under major duress, they didn't win, but he rallied his troops. I was impressed by that.
They never even tied.
And he had 3 more quarters.
Secondly, it's also about expectations. And look at this list. Every one of the guys on that list has higher expectations than Mac Jones. Tom Brady, they're expecting him to win the MVP and the Super Bowl. Lamar,
not as
Baker,
of 2 weeks
get to
ago.
the Super Bowl. Ryan Tannehill, this is a team that's rolling. What you gonna do? We just gave you big money. Kyler Murray, Super Bowl. Josh Allen, same thing. So they all have much higher expectations. Mac Jones has already exceeded his expectations. Just the fact that we're still talking about the Patriots, that they're relevant.
The guy right
they're
beneath
relevant
you
week 16.
calls him the baby goat. What type of expectations
Well, he
is that?
didn't call him that last
He
week.
calls him the baby goat. You guys are.
He is the baby goat.
He stopped calling him the baby goat
Well,
last week.
He just did it.
Zero chance I'll ever
He'll
stop
get back
calling
to
him
the
the baby goat. Yeah, I might call him the goat, but
Don't. What's better than the Bud List? Coach
Toddler
Mangini
goat.
getting all fired up about the Bud List. That's still coming up a little bit later. But first, Nick's got to hand out some NBA medals. How about 40-year-old Joe Johnson? Signed by the Celtics 20 years after they drafted him. Hit that bucket late in Boston's win over the Cavs. You said it. Great stuff, but no medal for ISO Joe. Nick, which 3 guys did it best last night?
All right, we'll start in with Milwaukee. No Giannis, no problem. Drew Holiday, step up and get your bronze medal to go along with the gold medal you won in the Olympics this year. Drew Holiday, 24 and 10 in a win over the frisky Houston Rockets. Silver medal. How about Jaylen Brown? Jaylen Brown. Joe Johnson might have gotten the headlights, but Jaylen Brown was the reason you could play Joe Johnson in garbage time late. Jaylen Brown, 34 and 6. Nice game from Jaylen in a win over the frisky Cavs. And then a gold medal. SGA. For the all of a sudden, are they not tanking Oklahoma City Thunder? 27, 11, and 12. Now the Joker didn't have a good game last night. But I did see a John Hollinger article explaining how Joker is having, statistically speaking, the greatest year ever. You'd think maybe his team would be above 500 if that were possibly true. We're going to do this nonsense again with Joker. It's the greatest year anyone's ever had. What do you want him to do? Oh, I don't know. When other great guys had great years, I watched LeBron win 66 games with Damon Jones and Mo Williams. Stop it with the Joker VORP BPM nonsense. SGA, good job. There's your medal stamp from last night in the NBA.
And to you, Nick, good job with all 3 of them. All right.
OKC, Nick. They're frisky.
Talk some Bills Patriots. The Patriots, 2.5-point favorites according to Fox Bet Sportsbook, but can they win without the wind and the snow and the whole bit? First things first, back after this. Thursday night football heats up as the Niners look to stay in the playoff picture against the AFC South leading Tennessee Titans. Tonight, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, exclusively on NFL Network. All right, guys, let's talk some Bills and Patriots. Part 2 of this AFC East battle. This time, not in snowy Buffalo, in sunny Foxborough. I checked with the Google. I'm thorough. What's on the line here besides the division lead? How about a revenge game for Buffalo after the Patriots grounded and pounded their way to a win in Week 13? Can we dive into that game just a little further? Take a look at this. It was very windy. Pats threw it 3 times all game. They outrushed Buffalo 222-99, and the Bills' offense failing on both of their fourth quarter red zone trips. With that, we welcome in a guy who loves taking trips, former head coach Eric Mangini, with his weekly game plan. It was a little weak, my toss to you this morning, but you are a vacation guy. I know you love taking trips. What is the game plan? First of all, good morning, Coach. Thanks for being with us. What is the game plan for the Patriots to beat the Bills this weekend?
Jenna, I did not know where you were going to go with that. You know, it's a holiday week here. I thought it was going to be even more hyped up than that. But I'll take it. Looking at this game, I don't either. Looking at this game, I'd say the main thing that New England has to do is they've got to deal with a Josh Allen problem, and they can't let Josh Allen beat him with his feet. And to me, that's where he can hurt him the most. He hurt him some last game, so it's him as a scrambler outside the pocket. But to me, it's the quarterback-driven runs, and I'm not a huge fan of quarterback-driven runs or putting my quarterback in harm's way. But this is different because it is a borderline playoff game, and I think you can use him situationally even more, and that'll help set up the running game. So that's the first thing that New England's got to stop. The second thing is they've got to have answers for the Bills in terms of their inside pressure and tight man-to-man coverage. This has been the formula that's hurt Mac Jones throughout the course of the season, and to me, teams should be giving him a lot more of it. Get him off the spot. He's not going to hurt you outside the pocket, and don't give him easy, quick answers. Force him to get the ball into tight coverage and see whether he can make those plays consistently, and he's shown that he's had a problem with that. And then the last thing is the Patriots have to make the Bills prove that they can stop the run. And this happens with coaches a lot. We assume that our opponents have their problems fixed, and it happens in games where you don't go back to a good call. It happens from game to game where you play an opponent the next time. You think they've got their problems fixed, and you give them the benefit of the doubt without making them prove it, but you've got to make them prove it. And I'm going to show you a play from the last time they were together, and an example where Buffalo couldn't stop it. So Buffalo has 10 guys within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. That's borderline goal line defense. It's 3rd and 5. Everybody is up there to stop the run. And what they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and take their safety and they're going to walk him down to the line of scrimmage and eventually blitz him off that side. Mac Jones sees where the down safety is. He does a really good job of checking the run to the other side. So New England's got their pig in, their extra offensive lineman playing tight end. But look at the numbers. Buffalo's got 6 defenders to the right-hand side of the center. New England has 5 blockers if you look at the lineman and the fullback. So they're outnumbered to the right. But over on the left-hand side of the center, the Bills have 4 defenders. And if you look at New England's offensive players, including the fullback, they've got 4 as well. So that's where they're going to go. They're going to take the 2 guards and they're going to bring them to cut off the backside 2 linebackers. So it's an outside run. They're running to cut off the linebackers. They're going to down block with N'Keal Harry and pull the tackle outside. So you get an angle with the wide receiver. You get the tackle on the cornerback, which is the matchup you want. And now you've got the fullback through this lane up on the near side, inside linebacker. So there's a nice path here, and you've got a hat for a hat. The only guy that doesn't have a player assigned to him is the free safety. So if everything breaks down, he's got to be able to make this play. Because the ball pushes outside, see the safety over pursue, he goes too far to the outside. Those 2 backside linebackers who should be there, they get nervous, they over pursue. Look at the way this is cut off. It's perfectly cut off on the backside. The front side defenders, they're all getting washed to the outside. And now you've got this huge lane for Harris to score. So as much as they committed to stopping the run, and they had a number with the free safety, they couldn't do it when they had to. And New England's got to make them prove that they have a better answer or some better answers this time if the Bills want to beat them.
That's great.
So, Coach, is it as simple, because I think there's an emotional element to this too, that the Bills, they were asked after the game, hey, were you embarrassed? In the post-game, the Bills locker room last week, they were like, we know who's coming up next. And you could see there was some like, I don't know, some tension there or some anticipation from Buffalo. Do you think Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick should be like, let's just run the ball. And if we start getting first downs on the first drive, that is going to take the sort of the air or out of the Bills, and it'll be like, oh, here we go again.
Well, I remember in growing up where my brother would hold me down. He was 4 years older, and I couldn't do anything about it. And then I started wrestling, and in high school, and things changed, and the whole dynamic changed. And that's what happens when you're dealing with a bully. And New England bullied the Bills last game. They took their lunch money, they embarrassed them. And as a professional athlete or as anybody, nobody wants to go through that experience again. The thing about New England that makes them unique is they're willing to run the same things over and over again, regardless of whether or not it's boring, regardless of whether or not people agree with their philosophy. So if I'm in that locker room, I've got to assume that they're going to try to bully us and take our lunch money again, and they can't let that happen. There's got to be not just numerical advantages, but there's got to be some answers from a scheme perspective. Maybe it's pressure, maybe it's types of pressure to try to eliminate what happened last time in Buffalo.
And to finish Coach's story for him, the end of that story is once Coach took those wrestling lessons, his brother literally fled the continent to Australia. Coach got the upper hand on him, and his brother's like, I am out of here. I am moving as far away from him as I can. Now Coach is going to get his get back. All right, you showed the one touchdown the Patriots scored in that game. So I know the narrative of the game was the Patriots just bullied the Bills. The Bills lost that game, in my opinion, more because of their offensive failures than their defensive failures. They held the Patriots one touchdown to 14 points. They didn't win because they couldn't score. They couldn't take advantage of the red zone opportunities. And I know you're close with some of the Bills coaching staff that in totality has done a really nice job. But your first point is the one I want to focus on, which is the Patriots had no answer for the few times Josh Allen designed runs. All year long, Josh Allen designed runs have been effective for Buffalo. I understand you just gave him $200+ million. You don't want to have him, taking the hits of that. But this is the division championship game. If the Patriots win, they win the division. If the Bills win, they're like 85% to win the division. If you were consulting your buddy Brian Daboll going into this game, how much of that would be the game plan? Because I think that right there is the single biggest offensive edge the Bills have. You saw them try to pull it out when they were trying to come back against Tampa. I feel like it's their break glass in case of emergency move. Let Josh Allen run. I think it's got to be a huge part of the offense on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree, Nick. This is a different time of year, and what's at risk here, and what's the potential reward is different. So you are willing to take more chances with these quarterback-driven runs, which have been so effective. And it's not just effective in terms of the yards that he gains. It's effective, too, in the way that it opens up things for the running back, because people have to commit to Josh in a meaningful way, and that can take away some numbers. I really like it in critical situations. Third down, red zone, short yardage, 2 minute. If you're going to increase those plays, use those plays when it's the most critical points in the game. And New England at this point, they are big, they're physical, they're strong. If you can spread them out and force them to deal with space, I think that's an advantage that teams can get on New England as opposed to fighting them in a phone booth.
Coach, I'm going to kind of follow along the path that Wilds went down. And, I didn't like what I saw from Buffalo after the game when they lost to New England. The play you showed, which was tremendous, for them to be that, set for the run, and then Williams still breaks the long gainer for a touchdown. That was Micah Hyde that overplayed as the safety. And Hyde and Jordan Poyer were so upset that a reporter had the audacity to ask them if they were embarrassed by what had happened with, them only throwing the ball 3 times in the loss. And then the next week, the Bills were all but celebrating. It's a little overstatement, but, the fact that they rallied and made it a game against Tampa Bay after being outplayed so badly in the first half. I didn't like those mentalities. And it's also is a team, of course, that's lost to Jacksonville. So do you have any questions about what Buffalo's players are made of mentally? And if they have the mental toughness that it takes to really get to the level that a lot of people have predicted for them?
Look, you never love the guys talking about their opponents or the other coaching staff or trying to discredit the things that your opponent did, because it is at the end of the day about you, and you should give credit to the opponents. But when you do get embarrassed like that, and we've all been in those situations where something happens and we wish we could have stopped it, but we couldn't, and guys tend to be defensive. To me, it's okay. You had that happen 2 weeks ago. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Because they're more than willing to do the same thing to you again. And if they can do it worse, they will. So you either rise up and say, we're not going to take this, or you get your nose stuffed in it again for another 60 minutes of embarrassing, running it down your throat football.
Coach, that was great. That was really great. Always look forward to that. Stick around. Stay with us. We're going to switch gears, talk some NBA now. Is there a trade out there to save the Lakers season? Do the Lakers need to be saved yet? First things first, back after this. Christmas Day on Fox, the Browns take on Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Then you can catch Colts and Cardinals on NFL Network. It is a Christmas Day doubleheader on Fox, NFL Network, and streaming on Prime Video. All right, we got stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. And we're talking Bills Patriots, part deux of this AFC East battle. This time, not up in snowy Buffalo with those crazy wind gusts, but in nice sunny Buffalo. It's gonna be a beautiful Sunday afternoon. But what's on the line besides the division lead for these two teams? Oh, how about a revenge game for Buffalo after the Patriots grounded and pounded their way to a win in Week 13? Check this out right here. It was windy that day, the first time these guys played. Pats threw it 3 times the whole game. Patriots outrushed Buffalo 222-99, and the Bills' offense failed on both of their fourth quarter red zone trips. All right, Kevin Wildes, our Patriots supporter. Be honest, you nervous for this game at all? A little bit?
Well,
Butterflies?
Jenna,
Something?
the very essence of the question is, who am I? Am I this person?
Nice
The analytical
Nice
Kevin Wildes? Because this person is nervous. I saw this graphic, and I, analytical Kevin Wildes, saw this tweet and said, cause for concern. Mac Jones, 4 highest pass attempt totals this season. 51 passes against the Saints, we lost. 45 against the Colts, we lost. 40 against the Bucks, we lost. 39 against the Dolphins,
a lot of points
we also lost. And tell me about it, my friend. Then there's this. He came off a bye and didn't show up for not 1, not 2, but 3 quarters of football against the Colts. And then one of the most disciplined teams started getting false start penalties, dumb penalties. Even though we're still top 10 in fewest penalties, unless you're number 1, you're last place to me. So is analytical
Top
Kevin
10.
Wildes nervous? Indeed he is. But am I nervous? I'm not. I'm not at all, my friend. I'm not. You know why? Because poor Buffalo. Oh, you know, we weren't embarrassed. We weren't embarrassed because the Patriots ran the ball 222 yards right down our throat in our own building. No, I am not nervous, Broussard, because I think that the Patriots have a mental edge over Buffalo. Analytical Wildes is nervous, but me, confident New England Patriots fan, no nervous, no wavering, totally confident that Bill Belichick is in all of the Bills' heads. Mac Jones will throw the ball far more than 3 times, maybe not 45, but more than 3, and we roll the Bills.
Might not be good.
Well, the wild and crazy Wildes is right. Like, this is a gut check. This is really, we're going to see what the Buffalo Bills are made of. All right? It's, you know, teams, you go through steps. And this is why one reason people don't believe in Arizona, because they haven't been in the playoffs in like 5 years. So you're not going from that to the Super Bowl. All right. And Buffalo has taken the steps, play well, get to the playoffs, go deep in the playoffs, challenge the champs as they did Kansas City last year, have your quarterback emerge as an MVP candidate. And now the next step is, can you get to the Super Bowl? And they have not yet shown, Nick, that they have the mental toughness to do it. In fact, there's red flags all over the place. And Wiles mentioned it with the press conference, and you're upset with a reporter for asking you about being embarrassed, and then you're celebratory when you came close against the GOAT and the defending champions. Josh Allen even stumbled and said it was a win. All right? They looked good last week against Carolina, fine. But now, this is it. And New England does, look, and this is one reason Mac wasn't on the Bud list as well, Nick. They already beat Buffalo. So at the very least, they've got a split with them. Now, Buffalo, as Coach Mangini said, has to go out there and say, not again. Wild showed the numbers.
Correct.
They would love for Mac Jones to have to throw it 40 times to beat him. But he's not. They're going to have to make him have to throw it 40 times by shutting down the run. Are they made of the stuff physically to shut down the run and mentally to overcome all the obstacles, all the red flags we've seen from them in the last few weeks, Nick? And they got to go prove they can beat a good team, because 1-5 against teams with winning records, that is not a blip, Nick. That is a trend.
That's right.
So, but I actually like Buffalo in this game, but I want to see them go out there and prove that they're made of the right stuff.
Yeah, listen, and I'm not a big believer in the Bills, but they're going to win this game, and I think you guys are overstating the mental damage done to the Bills by the first matchup. Because in the immediacy of it, yeah, I think it was devastating. But now leading up to the second matchup, I think they put on the film of 8 different red zone plays that if Josh Allen makes one of them, they win that game 17-14. Or hell, if their kicker just doesn't miss that 30-some yard field goal, then it's 14-13 late and then kick another one. It's not like they got dominated in that game on the scoreboard. They got dominated in one specific area, the Patriots running the ball, but the Patriots still only scored 1 offensive touchdown. But Wiles, I've got to say I'm confused here because...
Go ahead.
You explained to me all last week about the reason the Patriots are so dangerous is because they can beat you anyway. But I feel like glasses-wearing Kevin Wildes, more debonair, smarter Kevin Wildes, just showed us they can't beat you throwing the ball. In fact, they can't even get to 20 points throwing the ball. It seems like they might have an issue throwing the football, which would only be a problem if they were playing in the modern NFL, which I know Belichick wishes they weren't, but unfortunately, he does not yet have the ability to bend the space-time continuum, and they are playing in the modern NFL. And the other element to it is this. A lot of your sober analysis of the Patriots' path, the dynasty. Remember, the dynasty was just in a gap year, America. The dynasty was back. Part of that was going to have home field in the playoffs, going to at the very least win the division, have playoff games in Foxborough. If you lose Sunday, you lose the division. If you make the playoffs, you are on the road because the split does you nothing because the Bills have only 1 divisional loss and the Patriots have that pesky Dolphins loss the first week of the year that is still just hanging over them. So I'm just like, does sober Kevin Wildes think they can win by throwing the football? Because there's no evidence of that whatsoever. All we have is 15 weeks of the season.
Well, sober Kevin Wildes, the analyst that you've grown to know and love in the last 7 minutes, believes that we can run the football. Actually, we can't throw the football. We don't want to be forced to throw the football. It's a lot of that stats are like Dak's Cowboy stats, like, hey, you should run more. Like, it's a little chicken or egg. Are we throwing the ball that much because we just can't run? That was the issue against the Bucs. We left that game with literally -1 rushing yards. We started the game with more rushing yards than we ended the game with. We actually went backwards. So look, I think Broussard nailed it perfectly, Jenna. If we are forced to throw all the time, more than Josh McDaniels wants, yes, I think the Bills have a chance. But are the Bills built to stop us? I don't think so. In fact, I think Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick open up the playbook and say, you know what? We are going to run and run and run. With the one twist, Jenna, of this, and it never happened in the tornado that was in Buffalo. I think then Mac Jones opens it up. Oh,
Nick,
no.
Tornado.
It's the long 60-yard bomb from the baby goat.
I'm taking mine
and
off,
we're
too.
back. He does throw the ball. Just
There
not
it
40
is.
times.
There it
Just a
is.
handful of times deep.
We'll see you tomorrow.